Brutally cold temps and winter precip are on the way here. With very cold temperatures already in the single digits, the teens, negative teens up here into the upper Midwest, into Canada, -20. These are air temps, guys. So very impactful cold weather generally east of the Rockies, and as we get later in the week, impactful snow as well, and freezing rain and sleet, depending on where we're going to be at. And we'll go. What we're gonna do today. And by the way, my name is Tim, meteorologist. Welcome to my channel. I do forecasts every day, and thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, of course. And what we're gonna go over today is the compare all the model guidance, go over the current U.S. hazards, um, kind of the extended outlook for temp, precip, and hazards. But there's going to be timestamps throughout the video, wherever you want to go to based on what you want to listen to. I don't break this down region by region just yet. I'm just going over a broad scope, comparing all the model guidance right now. Spent a lot of time putting this together. I hope y'all enjoy it. So let's get started. As far as current hazards go, what do we got going on here? Well, out west we got stagnant air advisories, and also freezing fog out here as well. In the kind of magenta green shades here, looks similar to this here, but it's a little bit different. Some wind warnings here, high wind warnings into southern Wyoming. Wind and weather advisories for blowing snow here, 1 to 3 inches with that snowfall moving through the flow. Cold weather advisory here. Wind chills as low as 38 below zero. Oh my goodness, that's cold. Winter storm warnings along the lee side of the lakes here. Cold weather advisory. Ohio, Pennsylvania, parts of New Jersey, West Virginia, the Appalachians. Excuse me. And these heavy freezing spray warning as well for the winds off the lakes, and freezing spray, like freezing on contact on different surfaces, right? And further south, we got a special weather statement with higher fire dangers for most of Georgia here, with low relative humidities today. Freeze warning in parts of Florida. Cold weather advisory as well today. Cold wind chills as low as 28, right? If we switch back to temperatures, let's take a look what temperatures look like. And yeah, so northern Florida below freezing here. Miami 57. So yeah, pretty cold, right? And yeah, this is a day 3 to 7 U.S. hazards outlook, the 22nd through the 26th, which is in our frame of reference for this impactful winter weather. But we're also talking about heavy snow, freezing rain, and hazardous cold. Hazardous cold may be the most impact in the short term, right? And continuing to be impactful in the coming days. So the experts are calling for this, and you know, who am I to say? So this just lays down the foundation for their confidence in what's to come. So we're going to keep an eye on this. So for middle Georgia and most of Georgia anyway, today highs in the 40s to near lower 50s further to the south with sunny skies. Tonight, quite cold, lower 20s to the north, upper 20s further to the south, and clear skies. Tomorrow, clouds start to move in a little bit, with highs in the upper 40s to upper 50s further to the south. So I wanted to show you all this graphic too. This highlights the snow fleet risk and extreme cold. You can see the different graphical representations here. Extreme cold and the impacts here elevated depending on the color here. You see right here, extreme snow sleet possibilities on Saturday. Right here. Friday, not quite as high. Saturday, North Georgia. And Sunday, North Georgia as well. So, at least as of right now, this is 7 a.m. It's from 7 a.m. Sunday, January 25th to 7 a.m. Monday, January 26th. So, extreme cold. Um, well, into Tuesday, not terrible, limited, right? But you get towards the end of the weekend, cold air is going to be a problem here also. So as far as the 15-day temperatures for middle Georgia, you can see how they're going to tank here below normal for the foreseeable future into beginning of February, right? And low temps will be towards the middle of next week, will below freezing for several days here. Even January 31st, supposed to be highs in the high of 51, low of 31. So it won't be too bad that day, but that's the day of the marathon base as well. So um, hopefully there'll be no precip during that time. I guess we'll check on that too, but that's it for this. So what I'd love to do today, guys, is review the overall models, the global models here. And what I want to do is compare the MSLP anomalies, the surface pressure anomalies between each model that illustrate the differences why um, the models are differing on a little bit where the location of the um, heaviest icing will be, snow, etc. Right. So I'm going to try to start all these off on 18Z on the 23rd of January, which is Friday, right? It's only 3 days from now. And also, I'm going to go back and go through the latest NAM 12 kilometer, goes out 84 hours, and RRFS, experimental model, that goes out 84 hours, and look at those as well. So, excuse my voice here. I've been talking a lot past couple days. So, you need to get some halls or something. Anyway, the European surface high here, 1054 millibar. That's really high for continental North America, especially United States. We have this surface high, right? And we talked about this. We have the cold air damming, cold air coming down here, right? The surface high center is here, right? So cold air pushes up against the Rockies and it can't go over it, right? You see lower pressures all along this area here, right? So we'll move this forward a little bit. Here we go. Center of the surface high moves further to the east. You get lowering pressure here in the Gulf, right? But you can make out the wedge in place here. 1041 up here, 1040 here, 1032 here. So the core of the high pressure is up in this area, right? Um, so, well, we got an extension of it down here as well, right? But we have low pressure coming this way, okay? And this is Sunday, right? This lower pressure is pushing up against the Appalachians here, this cold wedge, right? Still relatively strong wedge holding in place here. And you can see, if you go back a little bit with this, see the transfer of energy offshore here. to some degree, right? Lower pressures. All right, so now move through time with this. You still have some lower pressures here, west of the Appalachians, but you see the low developing offshore here, okay? And then you have a surface high building back down behind this, all the way down into Mexico. And so, and then, the low scoots out to sea here with this solution, right? You see how it blows up here right off the coast. So the potential still exists, and we have 3 days to figure this out. Longer than that. This is Tuesday, right? So we got longer to figure this out, where this eventually goes when it gets up here. But you see, if this low forms right here, that's pretty close, I think, to the benchmark of potential nor'easter criteria here. So we'll have to see how that works out. And it quickly moves out, though, right? Doesn't stay around very long. And then surface high builds in the southeast after that. So when we look at the surface precip type, things like that associated with this event, this is Friday, 18Z, hour 90. Already seeing some snow breaking out east of the Rockies. Some freezing rain, relatively light to moderate rain. And so not too impactful at this point. Move this through time. You see how the freezing rain is just insane here in um, central Texas, all the way back, pushing up against the hard terrain here, right? Snow on the backside of this, maybe heavy snow in some areas here, or moderate snow in Oklahoma. All right. We got maybe a band of heavy snow. This is not a forecast, guys. This is just a review of the model. Moving to the band of heavy snow, moving to the east here. Another band of heavy snow. It may be, looks like a lee side trough developing here again. But you see how this strong high pressure at the surface is pushing way down here, right? These inverted V things, just a sign of push up against the Appalachians. The same things happen here, right, guys? Like, see that? So, when I say guys, I mean everybody, just a generic term here. So don't get offended by that, anybody, okay? So, yeah, this is Sunday, right? Sunday, 7 a.m. Eastern. The wedge holds pretty fast here. This could be a crippling icing event if this plays out, right? And then it clears out west here, okay, with that high pressure building in at the surface. And see what happens here with this low. You have the potential here for a pretty impactful event, even on the northeast corridor here, the mid-Atlantic. So I'll have to watch that as well, right? And then it moves out to sea to the northeast. So that's that scenario with the European, right? So what does the European AI, what does it do with this? We got the anomalies that we shown on every map to start with. Once you get maybe develop a surface low and bring it right along the Gulf Coast here, transfers energy offshore. And once you get a surface low going here, but further offshore than the European deterministic model, okay? That moves out to sea there. When we look at precip, this model doesn't show like the p-type, right? So we have to rely on what this looks like on the map and the pressure contours here. CAD wedge in place, overrunning moisture. Same scenario here, develop a low offshore. And where this develops is important, of course, and we have to figure this out, right? Too, but um, this is likely due to the gradient in the Gulf Stream, things like that, between cold and warm air, where this develops. So, still something to work out with that, right? And it generally moves out to sea after that. So, there's a 10-to-1 ratio snow map from the European AI. It really has more snowfall totals in general here across this whole swath. But you see, there's nothing in South Carolina, pretty much Georgia, maybe North Georgia for snowfall, right? I wish this model would show the P-type, but it doesn't. So we'll just have to stick with this. One other thing we can look at is the temperature profile here. You see, starting on 23 January, how warm it is along the Gulf Coast here, right in the southeast. Cold air pushes in. Pretty intense CAD wedge, along the east of the Appalachians and pushing down east of the Rockies. Very expansive high pressure here, guys. Okay. Um, that CAD wedge is firmly in place here in the south. So surface temps, if we go to the southeast, and a lot of my viewers are in the southeast, so I'm going to focus on that for a second here. Let's just see. You see surface temps Monday, okay? Sunday. So, this is the European AI, okay? 50s, 40s, okay, Saturday. It's projecting to be well above freezing here in the south. But you see the colder temps further to the north here, okay? CAD wedge builds in. You see the cold air. The freezing line is generally like right here, right? So pushes a little further to the south. You see that? So let's move it back to the dew point. See what kind of moisture. It's very dry, but we'll look at the uh, precipitation. Okay. Let's stop for a second. Yeah, at least on the European AI model run, this is Celsius. Temperatures in Celsius here, 850 millibar. So going back to surface temperatures here, this is pretty much after all the moisture is gone, right? Because you look at the dew point, quite dry here. So, see I'm talking about here, how the dew point's low. And really doesn't moisten up much except for maybe Friday into Saturday. So, at least on this model run. So, we'll have to see how this plays out. See the dew points up here? Oh my goodness. Dew points in the negative single digits, negative 20s. When you have dew points this low, surface temps will tank. Look at those dew points. My goodness. This is on Sunday. My gosh. All right. So minimum 14.7, at least in this map, right? So that's brutal. So be safe out there. So what does the European ensemble show? Well, I mean, we have a very similar scenario starting out here, right? And the surface high, strong surface high. So, I mean, all the models are in pretty good agreement about this, right? And with that surface high building east of the Rockies, then a wedge in place here. Lower pressures developing in the Gulf. Saturday, 4 p.m., right? Energy is just off the East Coast. But with the European ensemble, it's a lot further to the south here. So in this case, not that strong, and further to the south, and not likely impacting the northeast and mid-Atlantic that much, right? So a little bit of a different scenario here, likely due to stronger high pressure here at the surface and aloft, um, not giving away as much and moving out to sea there, right? So quite a different scenario between the ensembles and the operational run. This is another way to look at the surface pressures, right? It's just not anomalies. This is just surface pressures, right? CAD wedge building out here. There's a wedge here as well, east of the Rockies. Surface pressures are dropping here. You can see in this area, right? And then you have the surface pressure drop offshore here. Another strong high builds down to the south here, right? Into parts of Texas, what we talked about. So pretty much the same scenario plays out here. Just wanted to show you those two graphics there. So with the ensemble, I can bring up the snowfall graphic, but I wanted to give an idea here about the temperatures, air temperatures, right? Potentially negative 30 Fahrenheit up to the north here. Very strong high pressure moving to the south. Sea warming up down here along the Gulf Coast into the southeast up into Friday evening, right? Then the bottom kind of falls out. See the beginnings of the CAD wedge here, with the CAD wedge pushing down, and especially east of the Rockies. Okay, so temperatures, you see the boundary right here, temperatures, right? So this is generally the freezing line, it looks like, generally in this area. There'll be quite the battleground anywhere along this line here. So north of there, you know, in that area, freezing rain, snow, or sleet. So move through time a little bit more. In this scenario, the low kind of develops further offshore. It didn't really impact temps that much, but so that's it for that. So this graphic gives you an idea of the snow potential here from this event. We're starting off Friday, hour 90, move through time here. And this is ensemble, right? So this is an average of all the members. So when you see this stripe here of dark pink, that's pretty high confidence of high totals here based on this model. Now this is Wednesday, right? So we're going through time here, Monday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then offshore, right? But so all the way through the end, end of the month, we built some totals there. But most of the snowfall is by Wednesday. So, you know, we still have a week or so to flesh this part out. The biggest concern is in the short term and into this weekend, of course. And the European ensemble doesn't allow me to doesn't show like frozen precip. But you can imagine with the CAD wedge being in place here, we're going to have freezing precip. Like I said, where that temperature gradient is, the cold air damming, and where that moisture rides over it, cold air at the surface. So the devil's in the details. We're going to have to figure this out in the coming days. So moving on to the GFS for the anomaly at the surface, right? Doesn't depict quite a strong high in the middle part of the country, although it's still quite strong. I think we'll be splitting hairs here. CAD wedge already in place here. Lower pressures down south here, right? And out west. The source of the high pressure, or the core of it, you got some centers here, 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 and here. And you got the CAD wedge firmly in place here as well. Moving through time with this. Develop a surface flow right offshore. Kind of similar to the European, not so much the ensemble, but it moves it out to sea pretty quickly here. So quite a difference here when you get towards Sunday with the different iterations of these different models and comparing the surface features, right? So I wanted to show you all this just for illustration purposes. That doesn't mean where it's going to happen. This is just what a GFS showing composite reflectivity here and p-type, okay, and what the model is thinking will happen, right? Move through time into Saturday morning. Freezing rain, sleet, snow on the north side of it. Moves to the east. Heavy snow in two different areas here, and freezing rain on the southern edge. Sleet in between, right? So we're getting the Sunday. Wants to keep freezing rain pretty far south here with that CAD wedge, right? Heavy snow potentially along the coast here. See a heavy snow band moves up to the north here, but goes out to sea. And it wants to maintain this freezing rain area and some light snow way to the north here with this. Then finally clears out on Monday. So, yeah. So, next I'm going to go over the surface features in P-type and look at that as part of this. So there's a QPF and P-type map with surface features and thickness values. You can generally make out where the freezing rain line is and the sleet and the snow. I don't know if the sleet area will be this large, but wherever this sets up, of course, we could have heavy sleet. Depends on the thermal profile in the atmosphere, right? Moves to the east here. Pretty deep layer of cold air here. But I think the sleet area is a little bit overdone. I think we're more likely to have freezing rain in these areas, but we'll see. Okay. Freezing rain moves to the east. This generally agrees with the European, although it's a little less intense, I would say. Surface low developing off the coast here, and then moves out to sea. And there goes your snow and ice and stuff to the south. So that's how we think that will play out according to GFS. So what's the GFS AI show? Well, this is the anomaly chart. We've been talking about this with the other model comparisons. Starting off hour 90, which is 1 p.m. on Friday. Surface high shifts to the east. Once we develop that low offshore, like we talked about, we have the CAD wedge in place here, high pressure to the west here, with a strong high pressure up to the north, keeping that low from really moving too far to the north there, right? Moves out to sea. Okay, so generally agreement between it and the operational GFS. All right, this is the AI GFS. So yeah, so as far as the AI GFS and it's showing precip and where the low pressure will be, things like that, high pressure at the surface. Excuse me. It doesn't show like snow or anything like that. So you got to look at the kind of analyze the surface temperatures here. But in general, this just shows where the most precip will be as move through time, right? You see where it has the heaviest precip here, CAD wedge in place, um, right? So generally agrees with the models, other models, but like I said, for the south, you know, a couple 10, 20, 50 miles can make a difference on where we have freezing rain or rain. So these boundaries are going to be like an outcast kind of thing almost when we get to this point, right? And which isn't too far away. We have a few days to work this out. So move through time, moves out to sea here, right? So this doesn't show a huge impact to the northeast. Parts of the mid-Atlantic, of course, but the northeast with this model doesn't look likely to have impacts, at least right now. What does the Canadian show? Well, it's a coarser resolution model, but it's okay at these time frames. Go back to RNL 90. Once you really have a 1056 millibar high up to the north, a couple millibars, not sure how much of a difference that'll make, right? Move through time with this, high pressure shifts to the east, and you see the energy again with this model. You got energy here, transferring offshore, which isn't uncommon in this area, right? And it wants to bring a relatively strong low right offshore here. Not that strong, 1003 millibars, right? But not nearly as far north as a European operational run. Okay, so really deep, high pressure, strong moving down east of the Rockies here. That's crazy. Look at that, and to the west of the Rockies. So look at that high pressure all the way down into Mexico along the eastern side of the high terrain here, on the western side as well. So quite an interesting thing there. Let me look at the projected, well, the model P-type and precip, things like that, with this model. Okay, if we go over here, it doesn't show the P-type, but it does here for 6 hours, right? It's a little farther north with the rain, the snow and sleet and freezing rain line. Once we bring that warmer air further to the north here, that the CAD wedge is firmly in place, and see it wants to bring moisture further to the north into further to the north in the mid-Atlantic states and parts of the northeast here, and then scoots it offshore, maybe some back end snow, at least with this model, right? Um, I'm not sold on this solution. For one reason, the Canadian is not that course of a not that fine of a model as far as resolution. And I mean, we all know pretty much European is the best model out there, so I tend to lean towards that for the most part until the short range here. So the northern solution, although the European is farther north here, so we're going to have to see how that plays out. All right. So what's the UCMET show? Well, I mean, we start off, most of them are showing the similar scenarios to start off, right? Surface high moving to the east. You see low pressure developing here, and it wants to bring this low right over Georgia. And this is the strongest, and it's been this way for a while. Um, Earlier this week, it was wanting a low to move inland here and finally move offshore or later. You see energy transfers offshore. They all generally agree on that, right? And then it moves out to sea. So with high pressure remaining to the north here. When we look at the precip, it doesn't. I'm gonna have to look at this some more, but I can't find anything that shows like freezing rain, things like that. But you can see the colder air is further to the north with this run, at least right now, right? Heaviest precip starts out west here, moves to the east. You can see right along and where that surface low initially develops, you have the highest precip rates. Okay, energy moves offshore, maybe some backside moisture here, and then it moves out to sea. So, kind of interesting features down here in the Gulf of Mexico as well. So we're finally getting in range of a couple of the mid-range models. Although this is the NAM 12 kilometer and RFS experimental rapid 3 kilometer rapid refresh with a pretty high resolution here, but it generally agrees on the high pressure here from the RRFS and with snow on the east side of the Rockies, freezing rain, sleet all the way up in the eastern seaboard, right? You switch that over to the NAM 12 kilometer. It's a little further south, but it generally agrees on the placement of these. And these are both initialized 06Z this morning. So this is our RFS has a 1050 high further to the south here. The NAM has the 1055 further to the north. So this is interesting, but we'll just have to see how it plays out. Compare the two though. There may be just a difference in the resolution of these two models. So as we go through the next 24 hours, we'll get in range of the NAM 3 kilometer, and that'll help a lot. In the meantime, we're going to pay attention to model trends and try to keep you informed the best we can. Now, if we dive into the 8 to 14 day hazards outlook, so well, we got not a lot of risk of heavy precip, meaning rain here, the exception of far northwest, into Oregon and to southeast Alaska here. Snow during this period, nothing on the map right now. This could change, but as of right now, nothing on the map. High winds possible here, the 27th through the 30th, along the eastern seaboard, mid-Atlantic, northeast into New England, and along the great parts of the Great Lakes here in the Appalachians. And this is the most impactful graphic, right? Cold air, high risk here, greater than 60% where this bullseye is. And we talked about this already. Moderate risk now, all the way down along the Gulf Coast, along the eastern seaboard. Excuse me, up into the parts of the Northeast here. All right, it's 27th through the 30th. So you have this slight risk here surrounding it. The 22nd through the 2nd is kind of a bigger area for cold. So not as much certainty here. So certainty is the trends are leading towards a very impactful cold and precipitation, winter precip, especially in the south here. So the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, makes sense given what we've been talking about here with hazardous temps. High confidence of below normal temps in the mid-Atlantic, parts of the Ohio Valley, and in the Northeast, and points inland here. Even further to the south here, high confidence, right? Generally east of the Rockies. Near normal to above in Alaska, near normal to above in Aleutian Islands, and above in Hawaiian Islands here. 6 to 10 day precip outlook. Yeah, we'll have to see how this plays out. But right now they're calling for below normal precip chances in the swath from out west here into the Ohio Valley and lower Mississippi Valley. near normal surrounding it here, and above normal further to the south and right along the southeast coast, and maybe above normal precip chances up here in the northwest and towards the plains here, with above normal precip chances in Hawaii, and above to near normal to below, depending on where you're in Alaska, and near normal in the Aleutian Island chain. So when we get a little further out, the 22nd, the 27th through the 2nd here, excuse me, below normal temperatures likely here, just east of the Rockies, maybe a little bit further to the east here. High pressure still out west here, above normal temps for much of the western U.S. Okay, just a stark contrast here. Alaska above, further to the south into central Alaska, near normal in between and below, further to the west here. Possible temperatures near normal to below, depending on where you're at in the Aleutian Islands, and above in the Hawaii Islands. All right. Precip. A wide swath here of below normal precip chances right now. So, where this cold air is entrenched, likely below normal, right? So, high pressure also out west. Could lead to this on the on the western side of it, maybe some precip getting in on it, right? And further to the south, maybe a boundary here in southern Texas and Florida. Alaska near normal to above normal precip chances, and near normal to above an Aleutian Island chain, and near normal in the Hawaiian Islands. Well, guys, we got a lot to figure out with this storm, and other storms potentially move through the area. But first, we got to get through this weekend. Potentially high impact event for the South, and parts of the Mid Atlantic and the Northeast. The devil's in the details, like I said before. So we'll continue to try to figure this out and give you the best information possible in the coming days. And now that we're in the mid range to short range, we can utilize some um, short range models to analyze this some more and help y'all plan for whatever's to come. So, hope y'all have a great day and God bless.